Good afternoon, everyone. How are you on this wonderful Easter weekend? So I did a post the other day showing some fermented vegetables that I did, and I got a lot of you asking, how did I do it? You wanted the recipe. So I decided I'd come on here live, do another quick video, and show you how I did it. It's so easy to make the fermented veggies. So it's easier than you'd think. And so I don't know how much you guys know about fermented veggies and why you'd even want to make them, for as simple as they are. So we know that there's a huge population of friendly flora in our gut that is intrinsically related to the strength of our immune system. And that's been a huge topic lately with people of how to strengthen their immune system. So having a good balanced friendly flora in population in your gut really helps with that. And the bacteria do a massive amount of digesting your food, of making vitamins, nutrients, enzymes, cofactors, all the other different, who knows what. We don't understand everything. We just know that the bugs are important. And they're very pivotal, or they play a huge role in modulating your moods. So, as well as sugar cravings. So if you're getting a lot of cravings for sugar or refined processed carbs and flour and wheat products, pastries, pastas, cakes, sugar, soda pop, all that stuff, if you can't put that stuff down, that tells you that your gut flora is out of whack. And it will just continue going in a downward spiral until you've got severe digestive issues. And so you've got to be able to pull that back. Cleaning up your diet is huge. I'm always talking about that. And then introducing the friendly flora into your gut to help re-inoculate or shift the balance of the different strains around so that they're healthy and do what your body needs them to do rather than be more harmful or pathogenic. So, hello, thanks for tuning in. So that's one reason why it's important to have fermented vegetables in your diet. Another reason is just for your moods. A lot of times people feel like, that they're just out of control, or the depression and the anger just goes and goes and goes, and it's hard to rein that in. Well, I'm telling you, a lot of that has to do with your gut health, and your gut health is primarily driven by your gut critters. I call them your bacteria. So you want to have good strains in there. So, and one of the best ways of doing that is having fermented vegetables in your diet. So let's get down to how I make this. So I've got I'll show you different ones that I have. 3 different blends. And you don't have to have this many of them. This is just what I've accumulated over the last little while. So this blend is primarily carrots. And after I did some carrot juicing, or juicing a bunch of carrots, then I was like, I've got all this pulp of carrots. It's still good. It's food. What am I going to do with it? And so I thought I'll just add it to my fermented veggies. I had some other vegetables in here, like primarily cabbage. But now it's primarily carrots. So I just mixed them in and let them ferment and do their thing for a while. And so now I've got some nice fermented veggie carrots that will last for quite a while. So whenever you're doing juicing, you don't need to throw away the pulp. It's food. It's nourishing, so you can use it. And so one of the things is with fermented vegetables, you can also put the pulp in with soups, smoothies, and throw them into salads, make crackers with them. So a lot of different things you can do with the pulp. So don't throw it away if you're good juicing. Okay, so this other blend, and this is that first one, this is a 2-quart jar or a half gallon. And I like having these this top with the flip top and the rubber ring, helps seal it. You can get these at Target. You can also use mason jars, which is a regular screw top lid. But this is my preferred style of jar. This one is a gallon, and this has red cabbage in it. I always use cabbage as a base. So you can use Napa cabbage or the regular just green heads of cabbage or the purple cabbage. And they've got just the nature of cabbage. It's very, very healing and soothing and nutritious for the gut. And then it's very easy to ferment it. And then just inherent in the heads of cabbage are their own little strains of bacteria that lend itself very nicely to making fermented vegetables. So this has red cabbage, a bell pepper, a cucumber, probably some zucchini in it. You can also use like a fennel bulb. You can do beets. I think I have some beets in here as well. Carrots. I'll always put like a apple or a pear in there just to add a little bit of a sweetness and to give some sugar content for the bacteria to chew on or to eat, in addition to the fiber and everything that they get from the vegetables. It's just nice to give them a little a little thing of added sweetness with the apple or the pear. So with this one, so you can eat it. What I've done is I've been eating it down. You can see this a little easier. I've been eating it down, and then when there's the bulk of the jar is empty, then I just refill it. So that once you've got a batch started, you can just keep going and refilling it again and again and again, because you can use the vegetables in here as a starter for the next course or the next pile of vegetables that you add to it. So that's what I've done rather than starting a new batch every time. Hence I've got the 3 jars going now. So it just makes it so easy. You can just shred them up and throw them in there. Then this other one, this is a pint. Again, my same type of jar. This is a pint jar, and this has Napa cabbage, pickles. Well, they've become pickles, but cucumbers, and then they've pickled a yellow bell pepper, an apple. I think that's primarily it in this batch. And you can see I don't know if you can see very well, but you always want to keep this moist. So there's some juice in here to keep everything alive and happy and growing. So with this last one I just did this one the other day that I did the post on, so you can see the bright yellow or bright red colors. I had this eaten down I had it mostly eaten, and then I took out the rest of this just to make more space in this jar for this new batch. So in here I got a small batch, or a small head of cabbage, because I knew I only had so much space that I could work with. So I did a small cabbage, a red bell pepper, that's what the red is that you see, and then the dark parts are another cucumber, so I'll have some pickles in here. And I did a diakon radish and an apple. So the best equipment you can use to make these, the friend who showed me how to do this, she first did it with just a blender. I've got a blend tick here you can use. This shreds it really nicely. You probably would want to add in a little bit of water to keep it moist so that you can shred and blend things well in here. But my favorite and the fastest way of shredding the vegetables is with just your standard old food processor. So you know how there's the 2 different blades in here. Open this up. At first, then I was using this blade and the cutter, whatever, and that made it too small, or the pieces too small. It was more like soup and mush. And so I switched to using this, where it's just the shredder blade, and that makes it a lot nicer and goes fast. So this canister is about a quart, no, 2 quarts, quart size. Anyway, I filled up this twice with shredded vegetables to make this current batch to fill this gallon jug or jar. So I shredded up the cabbage, and that filled this up, and then I poured it into a mixing bowl. And then I shredded one daikon radish, 2 cucumbers, 1 red bell pepper, and 1 apple. So that's the recipe for this particular batch. I shredded that up. That filled this up again. And then I put it into the mixing bowl. And I added, what did I do? I just sprinkled in some sea salt. You want to do good quality sea salt with everything that you do. So it was, or anytime you use salt, good quality sea salt. So it was about a teaspoon, between a teaspoon and a tablespoon of salt, of sea salt. Put that in there. And then I just got my hands all dirty and started having fun and playing, mixing all the vegetables up with my hands. That's the best way to mix it up quickly. And you'll notice, especially if you use cucumbers and apples, there's a lot of juice, and you want the juice. So you'll notice as you're mixing the vegetables up that the juice will start accumulating more on the bottom. So once you do that, if you're going to, for the first batch, then you'd want a starter. Then you can purchase a starter. I get mine from the company called Body Ecology. The woman is named Donna Gates. Have you guys heard of her before? She's been around for a long time. Her company is fairly well known, very reputable, and she's got a couple of different starter packets. This one is for kefir, which has 2 or 3 different strains in it. Then she's got another another product that has a veggie starter, or for fermented vegetables. It has slightly different strains of bacteria. I'll leave the link for that down in the comments below this video, but you can get a starter there, and all you do is just open up a packet, put it in your mixing bowl, and just mix it in with all of the vegetables. Another thing, when you go to bodyecology.com, you'll see that she's done a lot of work with educating about fermented vegetables, what they do, why they're so important, how they really help maintain health on all levels, especially with the gut, especially with your immune system. If you have any type of digestive problems, if you have food allergies, irritation, inflammation, any type of digestive issues, you really have to focus on cleaning up your diet and going plant-based. And one of the biggest things to help you do that is adding fermented vegetables into your diet. If you've got candida overgrowth, if you've got sugar cravings, if you've got just food cravings, emotional eating out of control at all, then this is one of the best ways to rein all that in. Because a lot of the sugar cravings, a lot of the urge or the pull towards junk food and processed packaged food is the voice of the bacteria in your gut that have gone rogue. So you've got to shift that around. You've got to switch out your diet. You've got to get the bacteria rebalanced, re-inoculated, and the fermented foods is one of the best ways you can do it. So you can do fermented vegetables like this. You can also do kefirs. Traditionally it was made with milk. You can get kefirs with coconut, made out of coconut water. You can also get kombucha tea. Select types of yogurt, any type of dairy, especially if it's comes from cow's milk, I would be highly, highly suspect from that, because that's so grossly contaminated and filled with antibiotics and drug residues and blood and pus and crap that you don't want in the milk. It's extremely, extremely contaminated. So don't even go to factory farmed milk or anything made from factory farmed milk. You may find goat's milk can be used to make into like a kefir or a yogurt. The ideal, if you can, it's been just a sham that they've outlawed raw milk. Don't ask me why, it's just stupid. Anyway, raw milk, if you can get raw milk straight from the farmer, that is really a very nutritious way of having milk. But they can't have people healthy, and so they've done some stupid things about outlawing it. So anyway, if you're going to do a cow's product, I just really wouldn't recommend it because it's just so not clean. So in any case, so I just go off on tangents, don't I? So here's the best way of getting your bacteria in is with fermented vegetables. So okay, so you shredded up the vegetables. Put them into your mixing bowl, mixed them up, add a starter if this is your first batch, and then you'll pull out your jar and you'll start filling it up. So you want to pack it down very, very tight when you're putting the vegetables in there. The juice is going to squeeze out, and that's fine, but that's why it's just easier to use your hands to do all of this because then you can just pack it in really, really firmly. So you want to pack it down in well, and you'll see that there's lots of juice. If the batch of your vegetables is kind of dry, then like with my carrots and my purple cabbage, this could actually use a little bit of moisture. You can add in some filtered, pure, or distilled water. It's got to be clean, filtered water. Never, ever, ever tap water. That's like horrific. But if you need to add a little bit of water, then you do. If not, usually whenever I've made it though, especially with the food processor to shred it up fine, I don't ever need to because the cucumbers and the apples themselves will produce a lot of juice. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. So you'll pack it down really tight into the jar, and you'll want to leave the neck of the jar. You don't want to fill it all the way up. That's why it's, with measuring, just count on filling this up twice, and that will give you enough to fill up this, because then you'll have, overflow that you'll have to put into a second jar. What I found is that if you fill this up too far, and then you seal it up, as it's fermenting and the bacteria is waking up and growing and doing its thing, then what naturally happens is that the vegetables will start to rise up the jar, and then you'll see at the very bottom like half an inch of just of juice. But that process of rising it up, if there's not enough space at the top here for the vegetables to move, then the juice is going to ooze out through the top and down the jar and out, and it's going to just make a big mess for you. So you want to leave some breathing room in here. So you pack it all in, and then you close it up, and then you put it in the cupboard, room temperature, in a dark cupboard for about a week. And that just lets the critters just wake up and start eating and having a good old festive time and growing and reproducing and, doing all the thing. Fermenting this stuff. So I made this 2 days ago. So it's got still a few more days of sitting in the cupboard. So you'll want to just check it to make sure that it's not oozing out the top and making a mess on your cupboard floor. But after about a week, you'll see, this one thing I like about these jar lids, is that you know that the critters are viable when you open it up and it pops. So it just kind of eases out, it like lets off a little bit of pressure. But, and then you'll smell them. It's like a tangy, pickly smell as well as taste. And so when you do start eating them, then it is, you're just getting used to a new flavor of tangy flavors. We have 5 flavors, and yet in our sad American diet, then they focus only on sugar and sweet. And so the other flavors like tangy or bitter or spicy or pungent, we're We're not used to that. So when you start eating fermented vegetables and have that tangy flavor, it's just another flavor to get used to, but it's, very nutritious. So after you've kept this in your cupboard for about a week, then you'll look at it and you'll see that it's risen up. And so you'll want to pop the lid and you'll see the little bubbles, which is kind of cool. I just enjoy the bubbles, but you'll see that the bubble, this little amount of bubbles are bubbling up. It means that it's working, it's doing its thing. And so you can just stir it up a little bit to kind of bring the vegetables down and mix it with the juices again. And then maybe just leave it in there into the cupboard for another couple of days or so. Make sure that you've got a nice tangy aroma, and then you can even taste them to make sure that they're, if they're pickled or a tangy, pickly flavor, then you know that they're good. So these will last for a very, very long time. As long as the bacteria in here have food to eat, hence you'd want to keep filling it up, then they'll go on for, a long, long time. What will slow them down and help it keep longer is by putting it in the fridge. So after they've been fermented for about 7 to 10 days, then put them in the fridge and they'll last a very, very long time. So when you have them, just to add them into your food, into your meals, all you need to do is just scoop up like a third of a cup or fourth of a cup and just add it to whatever your plate is, or add it to whatever else you have on your plate. It doesn't matter what's there, just add these vegetables, like a quarter cup, or even, I just say like a handful size. Just add it to your meal. You can add it to egg dishes, soups, not so much soups, but salads, or like a side dish, or just whatever it is that you're eating that for that meal. Just throw in a couple of scoops of the fermented veggies and just mix it in, and it tastes good. So it does take a few days just to kind of get used to the tanginess of it. And the more if you were to leave them out of the fridge for longer than like 7 to 10 days, they'll get stronger and stronger. The taste will get more tangy and strong. And for some people, you may like that. But if you want just kind of like a general mild tanginess, then slow down the growth of them by putting them in the fridge with a cooler temperature, and they'll last for a very, very long time. And then the last thing is, once you've got this first batch made, then when you eat it down to the bottom where you have like a cup, maybe cup and a half of vegetables and juices still, then use that as your starter for your next batch, because there's still viable bacteria in here. They're still happy and alive and growing. And so when you go to fill up the jar again, then you shred your vegetables and you empty the jar, take the starter, the rest of the vegetables out of this jar, and mix it into the mixing bowl of your new vegetables, so that you get the starter cup of vegetables mixed in well with the new vegetables for the next batch, so that they can do their thing and start eating the new vegetables. Okay, so does that make sense? You have any questions about any of that? I've just kind of been rambling and running, and thank you guys all for tuning in. I really appreciated your interest in this and wanting to know more. It's really kind of fun to make, and it's so very simple. I mean, when I did this batch, I did it literally in like 20 minutes. The food processor just grinds them up really thin and really fast, and the mixing in with my hands is just fun. So anyway, see if you guys have any comments, any questions. So, choices of vegetables to select. With smoothies, juices, fermented vegetables, I only want to stay with about 4 to 5 ingredients. After that, it just gets too much. And the flavors start mixing together weird, and you can just turn into mud, especially if you're doing smoothies. So for these, you always want to start with the base of cabbage, whether that's Napa cabbage, just a regular green head of cabbage, or purple cabbage, but you'll always start with that. And then just choose, 3 or 4 other different vegetables. Think about how the colors will blend together. Think about how the flavors will blend together. And come up with your own blends. The varieties are endless, literally. The biggest thing is just thinking about how the flavors will blend together. So always have a cabbage, and then I always like either a pear or an apple. It doesn't matter really which variety of pear or apple, but that just gives an added little sugar, fructose for the bacteria to chew on as they're waking up and multiplying everything. I like the diakon radish just because of the flavor and the texture, and I like the cucumbers because they're so juicy and they make nice pickles. And then the bell peppers are always nice for the color. You could use beets, carrots, the red radishes. You could probably do broccoli or like bok choy. I haven't tried the leafy greens like kale or chard, or some of the other like thinner leaves like that. But try it. See how it goes for you. Probably the next time around I make a batch, which will be a while since I still have a lot of them, then I'll probably try some leafy greens like that. Turmeric you could try. Garlic and onion, I would tend to stay away from in this particular instance because they are so naturally very strong antibacterials in and of themselves. So where you're wanting to grow bacterial strains in these fermented vegetables, you probably wouldn't want the onion and garlic in there to like offset all of that growth. What I'm trying to think what other things are in the produce section. Brussels sprouts are really good. So the way I don't really do, never have been one for menus, but what I'll do is just walk down the produce section in your grocery store and pick out 3 or 4 different things and say, I want to try this, I want to try that. I wonder how these will blend together. And just make up your own batch. And it's like anything, it can be an experiment of, this batch turned out really well, I'm going to do it again. Or this one kind of needs some help, so I need to tweak a few things. Or maybe this other batch really sucked and never do that one again. So just play with it. Play with your food and have a good time with it. So let's see, what would you say? Add more kefir in addition to the old veggies. I haven't tried adding kefir to the veggie blend. I guess you could, to see how the flavors go. That's because kefir is going to have its own like pickled or tangy little flavor. But if you wanted to use that as part of the liquid for the batch, or if you see that the vegetables are a little dry, then try it. See how that would go. Anything else? So my question for you guys is, have you done much fermented vegetables yourself, or what have you experimented with? I'd love to hear your experience. Let me know what you've experienced and what you like, or even what kind of blends you'd like to try. And like I said, I will leave the link for where to get this starter in the comments with this video. All right, so with that, I also want to let you know that I have my Juice Fasting Made Easy program. It walks you through juice fast of how to do everything and what to do and why. If you guys have issues with gut health, sugar cravings, upsets, bloating, inflammation, any type of problems that you've experienced with digestive issues, then doing a juice fast can really help you reset that. And then post-fast, as you've making new changes to your diet to improve your diet so that you don't undo all of the good that you did in the juice fast and go back to the things that are making you sick, that's when you would want to really introduce in a big way, big conscientious way, to introduce fermented vegetables into your diet. It's the perfect time to do it. So if you'd like some help with getting over some digestive issues that you've had, some problems, some sugar cravings, some just upsets, and you want to have some solutions, then reach out to me and I can help you get started by resetting your system, by taking you through a juice fast, cleaning everything out first, and then introducing real good nutritious foods like fermented vegetables afterwards. And that will take you a long ways towards feeling better and being able to eat things again without having irritation and hurt and discomfort. Okay? So reach out to me if you'd like some help with that. I'm happy to help you with that and tell you about what you could do for your situation individually to help you with your gut health. All right? So with that, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for asking questions about how to do the fermented vegetables and your interest in my recipe. So try it out, play with it, get your hands dirty, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.